from days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe.
Robots in disguise.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Yo, Joe! Hey, we are canceling the apocalypse!
Ooh, I liked it. That was great.
Ah,
Took me
greetings
back.
and salutations, everyone. And greetings, Jay. Thank you for coming on.
Anytime, my man. Good to be here. Old man with dollies. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that on for a couple of lives, but I just thought it was funny. Anyway, tonight hanging out with Jay from Jay Bartlett, and if you've not watched his channel, I put this link to his channel below. Please go. Very interesting channel. He has a really good lives with our friend It's Chad, and does a lot of gaming stuff, which I find entertaining. I have to admit, I put it on sometimes when I'm doing cleanup around my bedroom or
Oh,
living
sweet.
room, and like it's just enjoyable because you quip out some really funny stuff that I can kind of go haha, but I don't have to be engrossed in the gameplay or anything. You know,
Well, that's what game streams should be. It should be like the
right?
radio, right? You can just have it on in the background. That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, um, but anyway, Jay, how you doing?
Dude, I'm great. It's great to
Cool.
be here on a Tuesday. It's freezing cold in Canada, as you
Uh,
probably already knew that, because Canada is always cold. But
yeah,
I'm glad to be hanging out with you. This is awesome.
yeah. It's freezing cold in Kentucky too. So, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's cold. Actually, I showed you this earlier, but I got two of these today, and it's so cold. One of them is I opened one up, and his joints are still stiff because it's so
That's
dang
awesome.
cold.
Action Force. Yeah, I have Slaughter. That's the only one I have out of all
Oh,
of those.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
Um,
they're cool, man. I like the Velver stuff. It's great.
yeah. It's funny. I was never a big fan of Steel Brigade at all, ever.
Mm, yeah.
I got like the 25th anniversary one, and I've got one of the original ones. I don't couldn't tell you which variation it is.
Right. Right.
I never really cared to look it up. But as soon as Valiverse did those Steel Brigades, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I just
Yeah, I had a chance to get. I think the first variant was I think it was called Night something.
Mhm.
I remember I had it in my hand, but I'm like, I can't. I was already kind of on the fence with Classified as to if I was going to continue it or not. So
Right.
I had to put it back. But yeah, I like the Steel Brigade. It's cool for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his redesign of Steel Brigade because it looks a little more practical to me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Anyway, you had a stream today about the new Masters of the Universe Revolutions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that.
and go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just thought we should probably talk about that since you had that stream today. I
Yeah.
tried to pop in on that and I kept getting interrupted at work.
Dang work.
I know.
The way she goes. Yeah. So I watched it with my partner in crime, Rob McCallum, who I do all my TV shows and our documentaries with,
Oh,
and
good you mentioned that. I forgot to mention it.
Rob McCallum, a good buddy of mine, he created the documentary The Power of Grayskull, which is on Netflix, came out a few years ago. So he's like the go-to He-Man guy. So naturally, him and I teamed up. We watched it, and I was really excited because I didn't watch the trailer, I didn't see the promo art, I didn't hear anything. So should we say spoilers just in case, or
I'm going to get into spoiler territory no matter what we do, so we should say
what's
spoilers now.
yeah, we'll tell. Like I didn't know William Shatner was in it. I had no idea. Even when I was watching it, when I heard Keldor, I'm like, wait a minute, who's that? So I didn't know anything. So it was really nice to go in there completely blind and not know what to expect. And I was surprised overall.
Hey,
Zazel, look
Basil.
at this guy. This
Yeah.
guy. I was pleasantly surprised overall. Of course, there's some things that people can nitpick apart, sure, but overall, it's nice to see Masters moving forward, which I find that Mattel has always done a great job in doing that. And having Kevin Smith at the helm, there's some great, funny pop culture references and jokes that are for guys our gen. So it's great.
Right. Um, I don't want to sound like I hated it. I didn't hate it. There are points yeah, there are points I'm going to nitpick. Um, but at the same time, I love the fights. I know I said that on your channel. I got that one in.
The fights, yeah,
Fights were my favorite part.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I felt it was a tad rushed though.
Mm-hmm.
It felt to me like there was probably, um, I felt like there was at least 7, maybe 10 episodes worth of content, and it got crammed
Yeah,
into 5 episodes.
I don't know why that is. Zazel says,
Yeah.
yeah, big plus for Gwildor, dude.
Oh
I
yeah.
dropped a load in my pants. Honestly, I couldn't believe it because I love the '87 film. I love it. So to see
That
Gwildor, I was like, dude, like Kevin Smith, he knows, man. Like he knows what Masters fans want, and what they don't want. He doesn't care. He puts it all in there. I think everything from Masters, from all the different story arcs, was well represented in this. I just call it season two. In
right.
season two,
Yeah.
it encompassed a lot of great stuff.
I I really liked when they met Gweldor and it was like, Man at Arms goes, "We went across the universe together." And you're like, they're talking about the movie right now.
Yeah. I
you
was
know.
looking in Gwildor's hut. I was looking for the cosmic key as an
Yeah.
Easter egg, but I didn't see it. But
Right.
um,
That
yeah,
but yeah, Gwildor was kind of fun. I like that aspect a lot. That was really
mhm.
cool.
Well,
Uh,
because we know that they wanted to put Orko in the movie, but due to
mhm,
budget limitations and special effects limitations, because of budget limitations, they couldn't. So
right.
Gwildor was the smaller character who is the brains and all that, the magic and science. And that was kind of the Orko character that they made up. So it's cool to see Orko and Gwildor in the same room. And of course, they don't get along. One's magic based, one's science based. It was really well done. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did like the interaction between those two and the kind of conflict between those two. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Um,
great.
yeah. So, I talked about some of the good things I like. One of a few of 'em, there's like plot points I'm really have issue with. Like
Hmm.
I got the feeling when spoilers when King Randor died, it was like Tila, it was almost like I can heal you. No, never mind. I'm out. I felt that was a little weak.
Well, he requested, "Hey Kelly, what's going on?" He requested not to
Well,
be
hey, Kelly.
healed.
Yeah, I thought that was strange.
But I mean, that's like, what do you do? Like, if someone says no, this is natural. He died of natural causes. Like, he
Right.
didn't get killed, no battle wounds. He was just, it was his time, and he believed that. So you think about it. Who are we to say? Who are we to play
Yeah,
God? Right? I mean, that's. I'm not poking holes
that's
in what you're
that's
saying. I'm
valid.
just saying that's the way I interpreted it. Was he was
Right.
just ready, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess what I was gonna say is story wise, I felt like if maybe he had died from wounds in a battle or something like that, it would have made more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's cliche, and
I know.
we know how Smith writes, and Smith was
Right.
very, especially the last decade, very aware of his mortality since he almost died. So a lot of his stuff you see in Clerks 3, it's littered throughout it. There's a
Oof.
lot of mortality,
Yeah.
and it's almost really comforting because he's just a bit older than me. So he's kind of leading the way. Does that make sense? He's leading us into our adult years. So I found it kind of comforting.
Okay. Um, I won't get into Clerks 3. That's a whole other ball of ball of ball of wax.
If it makes you feel better, Robert, I've never seen it. I'm aware
Oh,
of
okay.
I'm aware of what happens.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel the need to see it, but I'm just saying, like,
Okay, I'll say this much.
yeah.
Clerks 1 is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mhm.
Clerks 2 is not as good as Clerks 1, but still fun. I walked into Clerks 3 expecting fun. It wasn't fun. So that's where my problem with it
Right.
was.
I mean, there's two. I mean, when someone dies, right? That doesn't Dante die or something?
Yeah.
One of them dies. Yeah. So I mean, it's life, and
Right.
they're not at the stage now where the characters are running around the mall saying snoochie boochies and all that. Like, it's, I don't know. It's not that, we need to accept death and make this a big grim thing, but it's like
Right.
it's part of where they're at now, where it's not like we could go party out all night and drink till dawn and stuff like that. We're not like that anymore. We're older, and we got to be really careful.
True. Yeah, I mean this wasn't
But I haven't seen
like
it because I have like a lot of phobias around health anxiety. So I don't want to see
oh,
those guys die, right? That's why I've never seen it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I would recommend not seeing it then because yeah,
Yeah.
ever since I saw it I've had this I'm doing the same thing. I got the same problem. It's like every time I feel a little pain, it's like, "Oh, oh god, something bad's happening." And then it's like, "No, it's called heartburn." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, take an Alka-Seltzer, you're fine. So, yeah, I would highly recommend probably not seeing it if you're aware of what happened.
Looks like Kelly will never see it either. I'm with you
Yeah.
there. And I love Kevin Smith. He was in our show Action Figure Adventure. We got to put him in it.
Right.
He's a great guy. I met him
Yeah.
before, and I don't know. I just think there's a time and place, and I think those characters, I don't want to say have worn their welcome out, but it's like I'm okay leaving them with my younger self. Do you know what I mean? Like, I tried to watch was the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Was the last one I
Oh, that was a
saw.
rough one.
I didn't even get through it. I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't do this. Well,
Yeah, that was a rough one. I didn't I just didn't like it. I just say it that way.
it was like a
Oh,
parody of a parody. They're like
yeah,
they're
good point.
rebooting their own movie, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back from 2001, and they're parodying it. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm good. But that's
And
me.
so another back to Revolution, another thing that got me, and yeah, this to me is like it's probably not that major, but once I start thinking it, it becomes major. Is like, why is Marlena not taking over ruling Eternia? And I was really kind of struggling with that.
Well, it's the monarchy, right?
Yeah.
It's an old school, outdated way of thinking where the man has to rule. That's why. That's why when He-Man at the end says, I'm taking away the monarchy, we're gonna have a democracy now.
Okay.
I enjoyed that because it's like that's implying that the woman or the queen can't rule, which is ridiculous. right? So I actually like that. So he's taking this old school
Okay, well,
way.
maybe I was looking at it like kind of like England, where you know the queen will rule in the place of the king.
Yeah,
Maybe I was,
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
yeah,
that's just how I took it. And He-Man's like, no, we should let the people decide instead of, whatever Randor's family's called, the
yeah.
Randors or whatever, just let them constantly rule. It's like, no, we're gonna let the people decide and rule Eternia. I thought that was cool.
Now, I did have a thought maybe they wouldn't let her rule because she's not from Eternia.
She's an alien, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I thought that might be the case, but if it's like if they just said that, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand."
yeah,
Yeah, even
yeah.
though
Hard to say, but
right. Um, so I'm gonna get to my major problem, and it's
hmm,
so weird. I'm tired, and this is me. This is all me. I'm tired of redemption arcs,
redemption
and
arcs, yeah.
yeah, and it was like Keldor slash Skeletor got a redemption arc at the end, and I'm like, no, I want Skeletor to be evil, and that be it. You know. um And that's a tough one for me because it's just like, okay, redemption arcs work when they work, I think. Darth Vader is the best one I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good redemption arc, but it seems like everybody's getting a redemption arc and I'm like, I'm a little tired of it.
He got redeemed in the fact that he wasn't killed and he
Mhm.
still lives, but he's in prison, right? They're not gonna let
Right.
him out. So I don't know if it was redemption. It's like he lost his powers
But he
more
very
than anything.
willingly went there. I mean, he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm a good person now. I will go and do my penance.
But
So,
that's not Skeletor, and I don't think
yeah, no,
Kevin
not
had
at
any
all.
kind of. It's got to be tough, right? Having one of these IPs thrown on your lap. You,
Right.
you're you're hired to write this, knowing that fans of our generation are going to crucify you regardless of what you
Right.
do. So it's just like, how
And
bad am
that's
I going to get it, right?
I want to make this clear. This is not my intention is to crucify Kevin Smith or crucify
Oh no, dude.
this thing. It's just here's my issues, kind of line them out and just have them right there. And
Yeah.
yeah, I got a couple of little, I got some quips and gripes, but that doesn't mean I hate it. It's just I feel like I need to get it out there first and foremost. And I'm like you, I kind of waited a little bit, um, because, and then it was like all of a sudden everybody's talking about it, talking about it, talking about it. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch it, and I watched it, and I was like, well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I I talk about next will be Cobra Commander handing out flowers. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I talk about GI Joe a lot on my channel, and my
Mhm.
biggest problem with GI Joe is that it's creatively bankrupt outside of the Hama comic book that no one seems to ever talk about. Um,
Thank you, because this was one of the major reasons I wanted you on the show,
hmm,
was to talk to you about this because you hit this so good on Chad's live stream.
yeah,
Uh,
thanks.
it and I'm gonna try to paraphrase quote you, but and I can't remember your exact quote, but it was something like, it comes out, people go, "Oh, this is not my version of Duke. This is not my version of Scarlet," and then they kind of double down on the nostalgia.
Yeah, Jason. Hey, how are you?
Hey,
Nice to see
Jason,
you. Um, it's
and that
important to.
that was really fascinating to me, and I was like, I don't know if you saw my comment, but I was like, "Preach that you're talking my language."
It's important to pay homage to what has come before,
Right,
but it's very, very dangerous to live in there. And GI Joe, it's Hasbro's fault first and foremost. GI Joe cannot move forward.
right,
Joe fans in particular, I find are obsessed with the Real American Hero. There's been many versions of Joe. Real American Hero is where it's frozen. And the Hassenfeld brothers back in the day were so good at moving IPs forward, whether you
mhm,
like Star Brigade or not, don't matter. They're still trying new things.
right,
And now, we get classified in 2020. Duke has gold knee pads and everyone loses their minds. That's not my Duke. That's not my Duke. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
Now, I'll grant you.
then we get Duke who looks like 84 Duke. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, with this, it was with Revelation, it was like you could see the progression physically with the characters and emotionally, and it was great. I mean, He-Man, I find, has always done a really great job with moving forward.
And those aspects I really liked and respected.
Yeah, it's just too bad G.I. Joe can't do that. I don't want Shipwreck from 1985. I don't, because I
Right.
have Shipwreck. And I've had Shipwreck since 85. And I think if you're a new collector and you weren't alive then or whatever, grab the vintage Shipwreck. Here's Shipwreck. But I think now we should have new characters from the last 10 years of the Hama IDW book. Now now he's with the Image, and there's all these characters that Hasbro won't acknowledge or make because we need another
Right.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah, no, I agree
My thoughts,
100%. And
Yeah.
that was I mean, when Classified first came out, okay, I'm going to be very honest. I didn't like the designs. Now, when I say that, it's not because it wasn't my Duke, my Scarlet. I just didn't like the design. You know?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. Then they kind of leaned into the nostalgia. And I was like, well, okay, it's kind of novel to have like a couple of your favorite characters in that form. Like, I suckered out for Storm Shadow right here.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of novel. There was a novelty to it. That wore off very quickly. Um, I've got a few favorites I'm going to pick up, and then I'm out of classified because it's like, okay, you're just doing the same thing over and over for the most part. My favorite classified figure to date is Rock and Roll
Mm.
because to me that took the very base elements from that original figure and did enough differences that it's like, okay, that's something at least different, but still very recognizable.
Yeah. And it's a you know it's a controversial thing to talk about in the toy community, and Chad and I feel the same. We bring it up all the time, and I think
Yeah,
we've kind of annoyed a few people, and that was not our intent. What we say is not gospel. We just say what we feel, man. I'm never
right.
gonna look at anybody.
Yeah,
I'm never
said
gonna
his
look
name one
at
too many
anybody
times.
and say, you collect classified. I don't want to hang out with you. It's like, dude, we're in our 40s. Like, grow up. It's got nothing to do with that. But I think we really offended a few people. And
Uh huh.
I'm sorry, but I don't find 6-inch G.I. Joes. I mean, some of them are cool, right? But it's like,
Right.
I'm never going to get what I got before. And then I realized a couple years ago, I don't need to do that because I already have Real American Hero stuff. So, to me,
Yeah.
when there's no media behind it, they're not crafting the characters after the Hama book. So what is this? What are they? I need my toys to have a direction, a clear direction.
Hmm.
Masters of the Universe Origins, clear direction. I see exactly where they're going with it, right?
Right.
G.I. Joe, no. There's no direction for classified. Chad.
Exactly. I feel the same way. It's like, and I love GI Joe. That's my favorite toy line of all time. But I'm like watching the classified stuff, and I'm like, oh, I think Chad said it best. Let's dig out this corpse and redo it. Big corpse out of the drawer. He said that on one of his streams, and I was just like, oh god, that's brilliant.
There's no rhyme or reason to why the figures are being released. Like the
Right.
fact that they brought out Tiger Force Recondo before they brought out
Tell him, Steve.
Recondo. Tell him, Steve Dave. I don't know, man. It's just, people talk about, I say this all the time, okay? So if you hate it, forgive me. People talk about booze and drugs, smoking, all that stuff's addicting, but people never talk about nostalgia. Nostalgia is
Yeah.
a crazy addictive drug, man, and it
Hmm.
sneaks its way into your life, and then it starts to control you because what's great? Seeing like 80-year-old Bill Murray for no reason other than we want to see more Bill Murray, even though we probably shouldn't. But we remember Bill Murray, so all of a sudden we want to see more and more and more. I don't know. Chad and
That
I
one I
are,
don't. Yeah, and that's one I don't get is like 80-year-old Bill Murray. It's like I don't hate Bill Murray. I don't love Bill Murray. I haven't. He did a few good movies and he's done some bad movies. Um, but it's like everybody goes crazy over Bill Murray, and I'm like going, what?
no, I shouldn't have said Bill Murray. I meant
Yeah.
Peter Venkman. I meant Peter Venkman.
Oh, good point. Yeah, Peter Venkman.
It's the kids. There's 3 or 4 of the kids in the last one, and they're alluding to them going to be the next generation, which I think it's funny that 10-year-olds are handling nuclear weapons either way.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so they spend the whole movie with these kids building up to fight. I think it's Gozer again. And then at the end, the 3 guys just show up and do it for them anyway.
right.
So it completely negates your heroes that you've built up, and it really makes them look useless because everyone wants to wet themselves the last 5 minutes when you see Ghost Egon and the other 3 guys. Man, I don't understand it. That doesn't serve the story. That's nostalgia.
I've not even seen that yet. I have to be honest, and I have no desire to see it.
Yeah.
Just Kelly talking about classifieds very limited, Spirit and Storm Shadow, and that might be it. Wow. I'm pretty limited too, but a little more than Spirit and Storm Shadow, but limited.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this, but you take it away.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's a good topic because it's like it's Michael's quote, which is one of my favorite quotes on YouTube ever. Is that nostalgia's a glider, and eventually it's going to come crashing down.
Well, it'll crash when our generation's no longer around.
Right. Exactly.
Now, there's a distinct difference between Beverly Hills Cop 4, Indiana Jones 5. Those are not nostalgia baits because those are just sequels. They're just sequels, man. They're not. It's not like Beverly Hills Cop, the next generation, and then they have a cameo of Eddie Murphy. It's like they're continuing the story. If you don't want to see it, don't go see it. Who cares, right? My point is there is a very clear difference between member berries and a sequel. So let's get that out there.
Okay. Yeah. Is Beverly Hills Cop 4 out
This summer.
this summer? Okay. I wasn't sure if it had come out yet or not.
Yeah.
I
Not
hadn't even been on my radar, to be perfectly honest.
sure. I'm just throwing out examples of
Yeah.
because I get a lot of people. Well, Jay isn't the fifth Indiana Jones member berries. No, it's not. It's this complete sequel that has. You know what I mean? I don't think it is anyway. But again, that's just my.
It's
my
a
thoughts.
sequel. It's just not a good one.
Well,
but it is a sequel.
If one more person tells me that it's not as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark, I'm going to lose it. Like I'm well aware it's not as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what's as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark? Nothing. Because the movie is perfection and you're never going to top it. So people need to stop comparing it to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, no, I'm not comparing it to anything. I just think it's a bad movie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I've seen it once, but I will say, Robert, I don't feel the need to watch it again right now.
Right.
Which is usually not the greatest of signs, but I thought it was good.
Yeah. Well, I try to walk in with very low expectations, and somehow I felt very bored during the movie, and it was like that's what bothered me. I'm bored.
Well, Harrison's 80, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's 80, and that's the reality we all have to face. So he has the Helena character there basically to help guide him and do all of the physicality stuff that he can.
Yeah.
And then people are like, "Oh, blah blah blah, Helena." It's like, do you really believe Harrison Ford's going to be able to like whip swing gaps and stuff now? Like,
no, absolutely not. I did like that scene in the plane where she was going across the Nazi was hanging out of the bombardier thing, and she goes, "Sorry, you're a Nazi." I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thought that was the best line of the movie.
It,
So
it was good, right? But I
I,
mean,
I guess I'm saying it's not. I'm not trying to say it's 100% terrible, awful, but there's so many things I could take apart on that, and I don't want to because we'll be here all night. you know?
look, the problem I have with stuff like this is I'm just getting to a point in my life where I'm like, it's just a movie, man.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's
I
just
mean, it is
it's
just a
just an
movie.
entertain. It's supposed to entertain you for 2 hours, and people, a lot of people I see treat it like it's like the second coming of the Beatles or something. Like this is like this has to live up to this monumentous event. It's like if you didn't like it, that sucks. Then just move
Right.
on. You know, like
And I've actually heard people say that is that you have the responsibility to treat this as if it's gold or something. And I'm like, no, they don't. They have the responsibility to try to make money because
that's right.
they own it.
That's right.
And if they do it in a bad way, well, that's what they're doing. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right?
even when he called him about the idea for the movie. What? I don't understand that comment, Kelly. I'm not arguing it either, by the way. I'm not. I just don't understand it. Uh, but yeah. Another one you said, I thought this was funny too because it was like I was trying to explain to you in the chat, and you acknowledged me a little bit, but I don't think you caught what I was saying. We're talking about when playing with toys and like it's like when you stop, kind of like you're sitting there making voices, and it's like, oh
Oh yeah,
no.
yep, yep.
And I was like trying to tell you, I've never done that because like literally today I opened up my action force and like I had him just sitting here aiming at a wrestler, and I was going pew pew pew, and, like I got Hulk, and I was like 2 years ago, and I was like Hulk smash. I mean, probably not to the degree I did when I was a child. I give you that, but I still do it. I've always done it. It's one of those things I just never got shook off. You know?
So we would have my best friend and I would have playing sessions that would be anywhere from 7 to 8 hours,
Hmm.
where we would craft a story, and we
Yeah.
called it mix up. So we had every toy line lived together in the same universe, right? So we got to play
Hey,
with
Mr.
everything.
Wonderful, how you doing?
It's at that point where you pick up the toy, you're doing the Darth Vader voice, the Luke Skywalker voice,
Hey, Ted.
and it's that point where you're like, okay, this kind of feels weird. I shouldn't be doing this. That's what I meant. Like you discover
Yeah.
dating, you get into comic books, maybe you get into video games, and sitting on the ground doing this with the characters isn't. It feels like you shouldn't be doing it anymore. Then, of course, we know we all pick them up again, and playing with toys now is us doing like taking photos of them, putting them on the shelf, like you said, like little pew pew pew, like stuff like that. But you
Yeah.
don't sit there for 2 hours and craft a story. I mean, if you do, you do. I'm just saying, me
Yeah.
personally, we all tend to outgrow this, and it sucks. But we get to a point where it's like, yeah, this just doesn't feel right anymore, much as we want it to.
I Yeah, and I guess that was one of the things is like, I've had several stepkids I've raised. And it was like the fun part about having stepkids was like, oh, I can do that again.
Yep. If you're a
And
parent, you
I have a
absolutely
playmate,
can.
and it was like when they got 12 and 13, it was like, no, I don't do this anymore. I'm like, oh come on.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so that
Dude, I
in a
see
way
so many times when I was managing the video game store,
uh
the the parent dragging the kid in. The kid just wants the Fortnite card and he wants to get out. But the
right.
parent wants to look at the toys. It's so wild, like to think that you know that the parents are the ones that want to look at all this stuff, and the kid's like, "Come on,
Yeah.
dad, let's get out of here." It's like, I don't want to look at these toys anymore. It's like, what? What? What's going on?
Tonight WWE 106 mostly. Oh. So Ted's packing up WWE's latest wave, I guess.
Mm, cool.
Nice. But yeah, no, I was just it was kind of like just been able to kind of keep that in my life somehow. I don't know how. It's just even if it was by myself, I'd still do it. Yeah, just me.
There you go. You're a rare treasure, Robert. There
Yeah.
you go.
I mean, I've only actually had 1 year of not collecting. I wouldn't even say a year. It was 8 months. It was when Cobra Law came in and the G.I. Joe movie was broadcast. And I was like, I hate Cobra Law. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hated them so bad. I quit G.I. Joe until I saw, it was the following year, was the commercial with Storm Shadow version 2, Shockwave, and the Swamp Masher. And that's when I started back. I bought all 3 of those. And then from there on, I've never stopped.
Yeah, I stopped in 1991. I picked it up again in 2001 when I was an adult. And it was cool because I talk about Uncle Todd McFarlane. He came out with adult toys, movie maniacs,
Right.
that were
I
horror
remember those.
figures, sci-fi figures. It was like, wow, there's a Freddy Krueger figure. And I'll always say this: Todd McFarlane is the reason why I got back into adult collecting, because he made it seem okay. It's like, yeah, adults can play with toys. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, really? Cool, and then I got picked up Joe again, Transformers and Star Wars. Star Wars I never stopped, but Star Wars stopped from 85 to 95. So I had no choice.
Right.
Aside from books and stuff, right?
Yeah, I went heavy into the because I went heavy into the Toy Biz 5-inch lines because
All the Marvel stuff. Yeah.
Marvel. I loved Marvel. And we didn't have a lot of Marvel toys when I was a kid. We had Migos.
Yeah.
Then it stopped for a while. Then we had Secret Wars, and then it stopped for another while.
Mm-hmm.
And Superpowers, and that was it. I mean, and then suddenly it's like this expansive line of incredible toys.
And it was all the new stuff too, like the New Mutants,
Yeah.
Cable, Deadpool. They all just came out. So I'm like, wow, we got a Cable figure. And I remember they brought Thanos out, and I was like, oh my god, this is just the best. Surfer, they brought out Surfer. It's great.
Yeah. Love those toy lines, even though today it's like, yeah, they're dated. But I love them.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not about getting the most realistic looking Wolverine, right? I love that first
Right,
one with
exactly.
the helmet that comes, or the mask that comes off and the claws retract. I love that one.
Right.
It's still a great figure.
So let me ask you this. I drew this analogy a while back, and I can't remember if I did on a live stream or a video, but it was like some things, I made the joke. It's like, oh, Jim Largo's here. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim, what's up, dude? Happy
Yep.
Tuesday.
It was kind of like Ray Stevenson when he says in the Ahsoka, whether you like Ahsoka or not. The one line that really stuck out to me was when Ray Stevenson said, "You get to a point in life where you see the patterns, you want to change them."
Were you sorry you see?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Where you see the patterns and you want to
Right.
change them.
Right.
Right. I love that line, and I was like, God, I see that with kind of with toys right now, and a little bit with comics. Because remember the '90s, there was all these indie comics, and that just imploded. And it's like I'm going, are we seeing it again, or is this different? I want to say it's different because there's not the kind of investor part of it that people were like, I'm going to retire on this Death of Superman or X-Men #1.
I was there, dude. I bought
Yeah.
the Death of Superman. I bought all the Image #1s, the Jim Lee X-Men, all that stuff. And
Right.
I'm thinking we're gonna put this away,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's no.
Yeah,
Spawn
right.
1 is worth $30 maybe. Right?
Yeah. Spawn is having a resurgence, but I don't think it's going to get much higher than that.
Well, they're so mass produced, and the thing that
Right.
makes Amazing Spider-Man #1 is the simple fact that comic books back then were read and thrown out. That's it. They weren't saved,
Yeah.
man. It was a paper magazine that was meant to be discarded. So that's why those are worth so much. But yeah, with toys, all I could say is once you free yourself from the need to have everything, if you could stop that, you're already halfway there. And
True enough.
I did a video on my channel 2 years ago called Hasbro Enough is Enough, where I literally just sat down in front of the camera like this and ranted. I don't usually do that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, you're taking away the window on the box, so I can't see the toy. You're jacking the prices up, and you're just for Star Wars, especially, you're just giving me the same characters over and over again. I'm
Oh
just
god.
like, I don't want anything to do with this, right? And then all the Target exclusives with the Joe stuff, I was like, I'm done
Yeah.
for a while. Um, I think we are seeing the bubble about to burst in the toy. I don't know, toy industry. I think people are just not going to be able to afford getting all the characters that they want to get. Things are just too expensive, man. And I don't care.
Right.
Like, even if you're even if you're rich, I wouldn't be paying prices for a lot of this stuff. It's just crazy out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I'm just looking around my own collection here. Like, okay, yeah, my reminder of
Ranted feels good, buddy. You got it.
I always keep this around just to remind me of how they try to bait you.
Mm.
If I'm on the fence about something and then I look and I say, "Oh yeah, remember Deathstroke for superpowers?" I didn't buy this for any other reason than it was on sale, and to just actually put up on my desk and say, "Okay,
Oh, is that
remember when
that's the new McFarlane
that's new
superpowers?
McFarlane? It
Yeah.
doesn't fit in with the others. It's too
For
tall."
some weird reason, there's got to be some sort of Kenner Hasbro loophole that Todd has
Right.
to jump through. They're like, okay, well, you could call them superpowers, but they can't be the exact same. I looked at them and I like how Todd is continuing with superpowers. He's not just
Mhm.
redoing the same characters, but they don't look good, man.
No,
I'm
they don't.
sorry. They're priced perfect. The price point is great, but I saw the Batcopter, I saw the Batmobile, and the Superpowers Batmobile, the original, is one of my favorite toys. And
Mhm.
this one's not even close, man.
Yeah.
So there's just a quality that's missing from them. Maybe that's why they're so cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was like it's not even, I didn't even have the desire for this figure other than I do love Deathstroke. But I was just like,
Sure.
you know, I just bought it and just set it right here on my desk just to remind me when I see toy news and stuff as I look up at that and go, "Oh, well there he fell down."
He just
Uh
jumped.
yeah, he
Yeah.
just jumped. But anyway, he's just my reminder that people are trying to bait you and you need to be
Well,
careful.
I don't know. Hasbro certainly is. I don't
Yeah.
think I think McFarlane makes a lot of really he's got a lot of really great ideas. The problem with Todd's stuff, especially if you look at like the DC multiverse, the plastic is really hard. Very,
Yeah.
very hard. The figures don't stand up well. And now they don't have guns because DC won't allow it.
Right. Largo said it, Toddy Mac does keep disappointing me.
And McFarlane's got a Jim. I think McFarlane's got a lot of great ideas. I don't think they're executed well. But again, the other side of that scale is that his stuff is very reasonably priced.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Until Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then he said no,
Yeah.
which is
But
sad because I would have bought that Spectre if it was reasonably priced.
you look at the other side of the scale with higher end companies like Super 7, like they used to be, right? Super 7 Ultimates were that next step up. You got 6-inch, Hasbro stuff, and then you got the Super 7 Ultimates. It's like ultimate version of Lion-O. I was all in on the Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
Prices went up by $20 and the quality went down. And I want them. I want Hammer Hand. I want all the characters, Bengali, all the guys I missed. But I'm not. First of all, I'm not paying $80. And second
No,
of all, there is no difference between this and a Hasbro 6-inch in terms of quality. There's just not.
I have very little experience with Super 7 Ultimates. I have one bat. That's how limited I am.
Yeah,
I
they're all right. The Joes.
Yeah, I I felt like the quality was so far below Hasbro that
Yeah,
I the plastic felt like, and I have plenty of experience with dollar store toys. Believe me, I
sure.
really felt like it was dollar store toy quality plastic.
It's overpriced.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
overpriced.
very massively overpriced. I got that on the sale, one of the clearance sales late in the
Yeah,
year.
those were on
Because
sale during Christmas here too.
yeah,
I mean, I saw them. I liked that they're going for the Sumbo look, which is great. It's nice and different.
mhm.
But again, the price. And again, snake eyes again. It's like I'm good. I don't need snake eyes again. But I do like the idea of their reaction line. I like the idea of the reaction line, but I don't like the reaction line. So hopefully for Joe, they translate the O-rings into the ideas of the reaction line and make something better.
I'm gonna have to see the O-rings before I make final judgment. But yeah,
Here's the problem, Robert. They're $25 here for a reaction. So the
wow,
O-ring is gonna it's gonna cost more to make an O-ring figure than it is a 5 POA. So how much do you think those are gonna be? Think about that, man.
yeah. Largo agrees with you. Good ideas, but articulation and face sculpts are lacking. Talking about McFarlane, I think.
Yeah, Jim, I just saw the other day Superman versus Doomsday 2-pack. This looks
Hmm.
so awesome, man. But they're like statues, right? I mean, for $80, you could get
Yeah,
probably a really cool diorama statue set of those two. So yeah, the articulation's not great.
right. Cassandra Kane and the Rival for $22.99. Okay, yeah. I did see Cassandra Kane. I didn't know about the Rival. Um, but of course, then that begs the question: why are you charging, 39.99 for the Spectre? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, would have been on board with that Spectre, by the way, if not for it being $40. I can't imagine what that would be in Canadian.
Jim, you're kind of right with the healthcare here, I guess. It's just we like our tax is 13% in Ontario. It's just too much. And for me, and I said this with Chad the other day, like
Hmm.
I feel like I'm getting priced out of new collecting. I still have pretty sizable gap in my Real American Hero collection. So I would rather just take $80 and put it towards Super Trooper or someone I still need, right? Instead of another Duke. Do you know what I mean? Like
I have Super Trooper. It's cool, actually. I
I
love it.
love Super Trooper, dude. Did
I
you
know.
see them? You saw the mail away one we did, right? Like I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. No, I love that. That I got it at a toy show, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is like
I
so
like
silly. It's
them.
awesome." Uh,
It's so 80s. It's very Running Man. It's like
yeah,
the costume that one of the stalkers from the Running Man would have worn. I love it.
right. Oh god, I love that figure. It's just like, once I had it in hand, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really awesome."
Yeah.
That was one of those real surprise ones that was like, I laughed at for years until I got it, and I was like, "Ooh, wow,
Yeah. He's neat.
that's cool." But anyway, um, let's see. We talked about Revelation. We talked about Classified. What are you collecting? Are you collecting anything modern now, toy wise?
Uh Case by case basis.
All right,
A
that's
few
fair.
of the NECA D&D figures.
Yeah.
Although I just saw Strongheart and he looks awful. Oh, I didn't
Oh,
get
really?
him. Yeah, he doesn't look good. His face is weird.
Okay, he's
Uh,
right there. But anyway,
I didn't like Warduke
yeah,
and Grimsword look awesome. But
Warduke is
Strong
Warduke. Literally is my favorite figure from last year.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
I love that figure.
I bought new Daredevil figure and I bought the Matt Murdock from the Spider-Verse figure
Hmm.
that came out Legends. I got those, but it's just a case by case.
Right.
So not really. I'm again piecing together. I love the 2008 Hasbro Indiana Jones line. I want to complete that. So I'm
Oh, cool.
piecing together those because you have some figures that we'll never ever see. I love that line. And yeah, my
The
vintage
only
Joe
thing I don't have from that is the Lost Wave.
is the oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, the 2008.
that's what I'm talking about. The second Raiders wave that they put out at San Diego Comic Con that year.
Oh, you know the secret
Oh,
wave.
I love that is actually my favorite Indiana Jones line. Yes, I love it.
Same, dude. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is.
Actually, I was watching Michael's video on that
Mhm.
retro blasting. They did he did a really really great deep
He
dive
did.
on every one of those figures, and it kind of sparked. I'm like, yeah, I forgot how awesome that line was. I mean, you got trucks and you got one play set and you got all these little dioramas and you got Shorty for once. You got Short Round and all these characters that never made Willie Scott and all this crazy stuff. It's
Right.
great, man.
No, yeah, I really, really love that line. I really wish I could get the the last Raiders wave for a
The last
reasonable
wave's
price, but it's like,
rough.
oh
It's rough,
god.
dude. It's a lot of money. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my most expensive was the Crystal Skull Alien, the mail away. I got him,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I got that one.
that was a lot. But
Yeah, no, I got that one with the mail. Yeah, I did it with the mail away. I
nice.
was
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember
I
when that line came out and I was looking at them and they don't look the greatest. They're pretty good. But I remember
Yeah,
just being like, I don't know about this. But you could still get them pretty cheap unless you're going after like Molaram and stuff like that. Those guys are always up there,
yeah.
but it's a
I
good
really
line.
lucked out on Molaram and the Temple Wave.
But yeah,
Um, it just popped up in a little store around me that was called Magic Mart.
that was the last wave besides the
Yeah.
San Diego stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it just popped up there, and I'm like, "Oh, boy," and, like, most people didn't look at that place, and I was like, "Here's the good stuff," you know?
The
And I
Temple
grabbed
Wave too had really
yeah,
small distribution as well because it was like the end. It was the last gasp, right?
right.
So they didn't widely distribute it. That's cool, man.
Well, yeah, how weird Magic Marts were was, like, they got the first wave of Crystal Skull, and then the only other thing they ever got was the last wave of, the Temple of Doom wave. That was the only indie stuff they had.
Yeah, same around here. I saw the
Yeah,
Crystal Skull initial wave, and honestly, I think that was it. That
yeah,
was it. So, going back a couple years ago and starting to grab them, I'm like, wow, they made that one. Wow, they made that one. It's really great.
yeah. No, I mean, it really is. Um,
It's good,
Kelly
Kelly.
says,
Man. Yeah.
"Yeah, getting bored with modern toys." I agree. Still getting Toy Biz Lord of the Rings. Great line, very very great line. I need to enhance my Lord of the Rings a little bit and Marvel Legends. Yeah, I've got some gaps in my Marvel Legends I'm going to get, but it's all like stuff pre 2018.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's not heavy stuff and nothing high end except for Silver Surfer. That's my one that it keeps eluding me because it's so
He's great. Not the Onyx one, the actual surfer. Yeah, he's
yeah,
great.
I got the Onyx one because fun, but I really want to get the regular.
If it
I want
makes
the
you feel better, the Onyx one is the exact same sculpt. It's this exact
it is.
same gear. So,
Yeah. Oh, I've thought about just grabbing it and then like doing a chrome pen on it. Just be done
oh
with
yeah, yeah.
it. Yeah.
He's cool.
Uh,
There's even the one from I think it was '06 that came with Howard the Duck. That one is
I love that one.
I love
I
that
did.
one too.
That
Yeah,
was I had that one originally, and that was part of
yeah.
the Marvel Legends I sold.
When they were in
Um,
the big box, like they're almost like Diamond Select packaging back in the
oh
day.
yeah,
They're huge. It's like,
yeah, they were great. Loved that line.
and I'm a big Howard the Duck fan, so I remember just one day Googling Howard the Duck toys, and that came up. I'm like, oh, what is? He's a little PVC guy. I don't think he has any
Yeah,
articulation, maybe a little bit.
no,
But
he does.
oh, he came with Surfer. I'm like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the best 2 packs ever. And even though it wasn't really a 2 pack, he was an accessory. But
Just
oh
an
god,
accessory, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I love that pack.
Did you get the What If Howard the Duck?
No, I didn't.
Say it
Only be
sucks. It
yeah,
sucks.
only because it's like I'm gonna like all I want's Howard. I don't want the head in the jar, and I don't want the
Yeah.
Khonshu body. You know?
Yeah, his feet are molded together so
Yeah,
they don't move, right? It's just like a peg. And they still charged you full price,
yeah,
which I thought
yeah.
was hilarious because they give you the head, right? So they justify it that way.
Right.
Hasbro and their little tricks.
hmm Yeah, if I'd seen it on clearance, I would have got it, but
Yeah, yeah.
never saw it on clearance. I do know somebody who did the Build a Figure Khonshu.
Mm.
He has it, and I got a good look at it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to pay full price for that crap.
The Build-A-Figures are they got me once. I bought the original What If wave because I wanted the Watcher.
Mhm.
And then Diamond Select came out with a much better Watcher. So I was like, damn
Yes,
it. Damn. The Diamond Select one is amazing.
I try
But
to generally wait on Diamond Select for the larger characters. Um,
yeah.
yeah, because it just works so much better. Even if the articulation is a little more limited, it's just better all around. It's like,
And they usually like the Daredevil, not the Charlie Cox Daredevil, just the regular Daredevil comes with like a piece of the church and stuff, like a little diorama piece, which
yeah,
is nice
he
as
does.
well, which I think is cool.
Yeah, that and yeah, I know Marvel Select's doing an Annihilus later this year, and I was looking at that
Cool.
going, wow, that looks so good because I'm a very old school Fantastic Four fan, and I
Yeah,
was like,
Nihilus is great. Yeah.
Annihilus is a really cool villain from that era, and I'm like, that works for Annihilus for me. I know Crimson Dynamo's coming out soon. I don't know how he's going to scale, but I'm going to buy him anyway because he looks cool.
Sure. I'll
And
give Hasbro props for trying to do Galactus.
yeah,
He's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, you could never really scale. It would be like our size, and that's probably even
yeah,
still too small, right?
yeah,
But
exactly.
I'll give him props for trying. This Sentinel's
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool
mean,
too. I've seen him too. It's pretty cool.
right. Yeah, I'm a huge old school Avengers fan, but I was like, when I saw Giant Man, I was like, going, he's almost too tall.
That's one of the
I mean,
first Build-A-Figures. That's like old school.
oh, I was talking about the HasLab. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I
Yeah,
was
I was
thinking,
talking
remember
about.
the first Build-A-Figure Giant Man? Remember from way
Yeah, I
back?
do remember that one.
There was Apocalypse too. He was really huge.
Yeah, Apocalypse and Galactus.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Build a Figures. Yeah, those were cool. I like them.
I like the Build-A-Figure idea. I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
Um just yeah, I mean I'm into superheroes, just not like that's not my thing, right? But I enjoy.
right.
I dabble. I dabble.
Old school Avengers rock. Yeah, buddy. I I got broke in on Avengers in the Roy Thomas years when it was like Wonder Man and Beast and
Yep.
Miss Marvel. Love those comics.
That's great.
Yeah, Vision, just all that. So yeah, that I kind of gravitate to that. But although I try to kind of be a little bit more diverse than just being locked down into one era. Archangel is smoking. Yeah, problem with Archangel, again, if you're into Marvel Legends already, he's not going to scale well. That's the problem. But he does look cool,
They should scale him. There's no excuse for that. They
right?
should. But
Well, it's a 7-inch line versus a 6-inch line. That's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, they make really cool stuff, but then you're like looking at it going, oh man, that's not going to go with my Legends. I don't want to get into another scale. But their bigger characters do work. Their Apocalypse is much better than anything Hasbro has done.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can pass that one off because he's so much larger. At least that's my viewpoint of it.
Yeah, they're not bad. I have, like I said, I have that Daredevil. That's about it for Diamond Select, and I missed the Watcher. I had an opportunity, but I just spent God knows how much money on that entire wave, which I got rid of after I got a fraction of
Yeah,
my money back. But I got rid of them because What If was pretty cool. I always think the What Ifs in Marvel are a really fun idea. It's a really fun idea, but I didn't want any of those figures in my
right.
collection. I kept the Watcher and I got rid of those guys, and I got fraction back.
Yeah, I got Peggy Carter out of that way because I just
Oh,
really
she's
like.
great. That figure is amazing. Oh, I
Yeah, I
love
got
it.
that one, and then I got a deal on Hello Dope Toys. I got the Gamora,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
she's cool too.
which I actually am going to keep because she's really cool. She's got the Thanos double blade and everything.
Mm,
So yeah,
nice.
so she's really cool. I'm trying to think what. Oh, Goliath. That was the other one I got from
Mm,
What If. Yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's which is kind of weird because it's Goliath, but he's like the same size as a normal Marvel Legend.
Yeah, exactly.
I may throw him in my old Marvel Universe collection and just say, yeah, there's Goliath.
Yeah, he's in the Captain Carter episode, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that figure's cool. It's heavy.
Yeah. And I think that's all I have from What If. If I remember correctly.
Still don't know if that season 2 has come out or not.
Of What
But
If?
yeah.
Yeah, it's come out. Came out around Christmas time.
Oh, did it? Okay. I
Yeah.
I don't have Disney Plus anymore, unfortunately, but
Oh,
yeah.
I have a 5-year-old who is obsessed with Mickey Mouse, so I have Disney Plus.
That's totally listen, anyone who has Disney Plus, I'm not hating. I'm just saying for me, it's just not worth it. And even
Yeah.
though, they're trying to get me with the Echo, having Daredevil in it, I'm like, I can't do it, man. Just
Yeah,
can't do it.
Echo was weird because it was like I felt like it was just getting started and really getting its stride, and then it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, what? What? It's over?
Yeah, it's I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep up with all that stuff.
Right.
And quite honestly, I think most of it is just so boring. It's the same stuff over and over again. You've heard us talk about Star Wars. We're not going to
Oh
get
yeah.
into that, but Star Wars is just dead. It's dead in the water. It's so uninteresting to me. Even the Marvel stuff after the Infinity Gauntlet was just like, what do you do after Thanos destroys half the universe? I've said this before too on podcasts. What do? You go back to Spider-Man fighting Vulture. It's like, well, who cares? You know what I mean? You've built up a story so grand over a decade, and now it's kind of like now none of those characters are around, and you're trying to bring in like B and C side characters and thinking
Yeah.
they're going to do as well as Captain America and Iron Man. No, it's not going
No.
to work that way, right?
Right.
You
I
don't have
mean,
to be a mainstream like Avenger to be a great superhero. That's not what I'm saying, but
right.
box office wise, you're not gonna contend.
Yeah, I mean, one my favorite Marvel series has been Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like, I mean, that had a talking raccoon in it. Well, of course, that's part of the reason. You
Yeah.
know? But it's like, I mean, you can do it, but it's like it's not going to be what you can hold your franchise on.
I kind of miss the days of when a director would get an IP and make 2 or 3 films. Let's just use Christopher Nolan or Tim Burton with Batman.
Right.
They would get the Batman IP for X number of films, and those 3 movies, Batman, Christopher Nolan, exist within Christopher Nolan's version of Batman. I almost miss that. Now we have this timeline that every superhero show has to fit into, and it's
Hmm.
just really messy. I
Yeah.
I do like that in terms of like Star Wars because that's what I was raised with and I'm obsessed with them not destroying that even though they kind of have. But superheroes, I think there's been so many stories of Batman that you can have multiple directors do different stories and it'll be just as entertaining. Like look at all the straight to Blu-ray DC animated movies. They're fantastic. There's
Oh
so many
God,
great
those.
ones.
Yeah, usually those 9 times out of 10 are just bangers.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really enjoy those. I mean, it's kind of tough because interlinking everything into in a cohesive universe, as I say, was I'm holding Marvel Universe's uh, Psylocke Katana because I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just sitting here. I found it on the floor the other day, and but interweaving it the way they did with the Infinity Saga, you know, that worked. I don't know what I mean. You're right. After that, what do you do? It's like you either do something new and reboot, or you you try to hang it on the on the shoulders of people who can't handle the load.
but you can always create new characters, and
Right.
once again, they won't do that because they're afraid people of our generation will stop supporting it, which
Yeah.
is completely not true because Spider-Man does not belong to us or the generations before. It
Oh,
belongs to the
good.
generations now,
Right.
right? And that's kind of like what we were talking about the other day on the podcast about like our generation, my generation is Gen X, and we can't seem to pass on our stuff. Like we want to keep it. It's ours. This is
Yeah.
my GI Joe. It's mine. Don't mess with it. Nobody mess with it. This is my Duke. And it's kind of like, how did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm questioning the same thing. How did this happen? Because it's like, um, when I think about is Miles Morales, the newer Spider-Man.
Sure.
Love that character.
Yeah, he's
I-
great. Yeah.
yeah, he's great. And it's like some people can't get past the fact that that's not Peter Parker. And I'm like, okay, why? If he seems perfectly fine, and
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
he's
that
not
goes
Peter Parker, but you know,
the
that's
cloning
okay.
saga was in the comic books and then it was in the 90s cartoon and then you had Ben Riley and all that stuff. So I
Right.
mean, there's been clones of Spider-Man and different versions of Spider-Man since the 90s.
Yeah,
Um, I don't find that stuff particularly interesting. The multiverse stuff I think is just lazy writing. But
most of the time, yes, I agree with you.
I don't think that Miles Morales should be called Spider-Man. So I just played
Oh,
through
that's a valid point.
I played through the Spider-Man 2 game this past Christmas, and Peter and Miles kept calling each other Spider-Man, and it was just kind of like he can have the same kind of outfit, but I think he should have been called something else. That's just me though. If,
Yeah, now that's
if
a mistake.
Peter
I
if
think.
Peter was dead and he was to take up the mantle as Spider-Man, that's different.
Yeah,
That makes sense. But with two of them running around, it's like just call yourself something different.
and that's a valid point because before Secret War, they did exist in two different universes,
Yeah.
and then Secret War happened, and they kind of just, oh, Miles is living in the same universe as Peter now, and that
Yes. Yeah.
gets complicated, and
It's
that I don't like.
with multiverse, it gives writers
Right.
a chance to basically do whatever they want without consequence. You could kill anyone off, you could change anything because if you screw it up, like look at the third Spider-Man movie. Doctor Strange will open a portal and you're going to go back and just erase what happened, right? And well, it kind of went wrong, but you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't know. That's one reason I stopped reading comics, like totally collecting them. I still buy some here and there, but
Right.
that's why I stopped reading them was because Superman was beat to death, but he's not really dead. 6 months, you find out he wasn't dead. So you're so emotionally invested in the fact that DC had the guts to kill their greatest hero, which they did. It was on the news, man, if you remember that.
Oh, I remember it vividly.
And then they turned out, oh, well, his heart just slowed down so slow that human doctors couldn't detect there was a beat, so they presumed him dead. What? Come on, man. Come on. And
No,
then
I admit I don't like how they brought him back, but the stories around his death I thought were really well done. The
sure,
whole
but
the funeral,
you can't.
the lead up to his death, and even Reign of Superman for a little bit was pretty good.
For me, this is just my thoughts. You can't pull the rug out from your readers and then expect them to trust you, right?
Right.
I mean, I saw that you had Rick Grimes in your intro,
Oh yeah.
and I love The Walking Dead, but that's one reason the show fell apart is because they started faking deaths. What made that
Yeah.
show great, what made the book great, was that anyone could die at any time. It didn't matter how big a star you were. No one was ever safe. And that first time they tricked you where you think Glenn dies, but he doesn't, it was like someone on top of him. That's
Mhm.
when you start to lose your audience because then they don't trust you anymore. This is
Right.
what goes on with comic books and why I find it very boring. Because someone could
Right.
die and then multiverse, they're back to life, or that never
Mhm.
happened, or yeah, that's me,
Yeah,
dude.
I'll never forget Walking Dead. You were talking about the comic, and even though his
Yeah.
character in the show was very different, Tyrese.
Yeah. Yeah.
was my favorite character in the comic book. And when they killed him, I got so angry.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how angry I got, and it, like, took me days to get over it. It was like and then it was like, "Wait a minute. This is good storytelling because I'm reacting to it."
Yeah, you remember the first time you saw the governor take off Rick's hand?
Yeah,
You're like, "Wait a minute, they can't do that. He's the hero."
right.
Well, they did it, and that was so final. It's like his hand is gone. Now you have a
Yeah.
one-handed hero, and he's gotta deal with that. That's like I couldn't believe that. I'm like, you think, nothing will ever happen to Rick.
Mhm.
Wrong. Nothing will ever happen to his kids. Wrong, right?
Right. Yeah, and that is what made Walking Dead the comic so great. Not so much the show, but the show had its own issues. There's a whole lot going on with that show.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but I really love the comic. That was one of my favorite comics for a long time. I even like the ending. I don't know if you've ever read the ending.
Yeah, it was good. Kirkman's okay for
Yeah,
writing. I think he's a little over the top vulgar, like with Negan in the comic book. It's a little much.
it is,
Um,
but I just kind of accepted it
I
because
get they're trying to make him like the most disgusting human being. He has to outdo the governor, who is disgusting in the
Mhm.
comic, right? So I kind of like both of them better in the show because they're
Uh-huh.
still evil, but they're charming and you could kind of like them. Like I liked the governor of the show. I thought he was great. Philip was a great character, great actor. Sam Jeffrey
Oh yeah,
Dean Morgan is like every time he's on screen, everyone freezes because he's so great, right? He's just
hmm
locked onto the screen watching him. Uh,
I made the joke that in season 3 that because I don't know how much you know about the comic governor's backstory.
uh, the
Uh,
governor,
yeah,
well, he's completely different looking.
yeah.
I
Well, he's actually actually Philip was his brother, and he killed Philip,
oh okay.
and then took on his identity. So I
Right.
made the joke that in the show, the opposite happened was Philip killed his brother, and he became the governor.
Well, you know what, dude? That was really smart of Robert to do how he
Yeah,
changed the show. He changed a lot of parts of
yeah,
the show, um, so that you could still read the book, you could still watch the show, and there'd be similarities. But like what happened with Andrea and Rick in the book does not happen with Andrea and Rick in the show,
right.
right? They don't fall in love in the show. Daryl and Merle don't exist in the book, so
Yep,
it was different just enough. And it
right.
was really, really smart move on his part.
I tend to agree, although I didn't like the end of the show because mostly it felt like a ad for new spinoff series. Um,
That I believe that was tacked on. I
yeah,
I think when Andrew left, we knew the show wasn't the same. It was like if you watch The Office, it was like when Steve Carell left, it was just
right.
the soul was taken out of it. It would be like having Seinfeld without Jerry. It's like the other characters are great, but you need the ensemble to make it work, and you needed Rick Grimes in that show. So
Right, exactly. Yeah, I thought the show lost a lot of its soul when Rick left, and I know there was supposed to be a movie thing come out, and I know that didn't happen, and I don't know what that means for that new series that's coming out. Um, what is it? The Ones Who Live or whatever it's called?
yeah, the trailer just dropped the other day.
Yeah,
Right. It was the script. It's like what they did with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was a
yeah,
feature film, and then they dissected it and stretched it out into a series because that's what Disney wanted to do at the time. Now it seems like with Star Wars, they're heading back to the theater. I guess we're getting Mandalorian movie. It's like, okay,
yeah. Really weird cycle they're going through.
yeah, nah, whatever, man. Just
Yeah.
I don't know
I
anymore.
watch it. I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
true.
but that's all we can do at this point.
And just remember, this stuff's entertainment. I
Right.
think watching people lose their minds over stuff, and I'm talking about not we can have discussions, we can agree to disagree, but I mean people like really lose it. Like
Yeah.
They're Just take Ahsoka for example. I don't like the show.
Okay.
And there's just people I've been in contact with, and they swear by it. It's like they love it so much. It's part of their identity. It's like, dude, like it's just a show, man. Like,
Oh.
and I was there. I used to be that person way back in high school where I would convince people, Kiss is the best band in the world, and this is why. And if you don't agree, then you're a complete idiot. But I was a
Yeah.
kid, man. I realize now that's dumb.
Right.
But it's these people that will fight tooth and nail because it has the Star Wars brand on it, that it will always do no harm. It's like, oh, I mean, bad storytelling is bad storytelling,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Ahsoka, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I will talk about flaws that I saw in the show. I will not hesitate to say, okay, this, and this. Yeah, that was a very big flaw. But at the same time, if somebody says they don't like it, I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that all the time of everywhere too. It's like love it, hate. That's what I was seeing with running back to Revolution. Um, I really avoided anybody talking about it until yesterday,
Yeah.
and it was like everything I watch is like, it is the worst sin to He-Man ever, or it is the greatest thing He-Man's ever done. And I'm like, it's okay, but it's neither of these two very extreme viewpoints, in my opinion.
It's almost like it has to be good in the person's eyes for them to validate their
Yeah,
current lifestyle. And I do not mean to insult anybody when I say that, but I think that's a lot. People invest so much time and money into these IPs, and they put themselves into it so much. Dude, look at all my video games. I'm one of them.
right.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But I mean, like if I was a Nintendo guy and they brought out a terrible Mario game, and I wouldn't sit there and defend it to the death just because it has Nintendo stamp on it. I'd be like, no, this game sucks, man.
yeah,
And you know what? Artists are allowed to make things that aren't as good as the last thing because that's impossible to do. So for us
right.
to put expectations on these artists, I think is something that we need to just cool down with doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's got to be better than Empire. It's got to be better than Jedi. There's got to be better. It's like, dude, like, what do you want from a human being? You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I got this whole shelf right here is devoted to Iron Man. I have
Yeah,
pictures of Iron Man all over the place. Iron Man is my first superhero I ever remember.
yeah.
I absolutely love Iron Man. But if you get me talking about Iron Man 3, you're going to hear somebody who hates a movie.
Sure, sure.
It's just like I just hate that movie. It's just like, "Oh my god. What happened?"
But Robert, do you find that there's like because you're and this is not an insult, I'm just gonna call you the
No.
Iron Man guy. You love Iron Man, you're the Iron Man guy. Don't
Yeah.
you find that because you're known as the Iron Man guy, that if you don't like everything that Iron Man's in, you're not an Iron Man fan?
I've had
Like,
people say that to me.
I get that
I
sometimes too. It's like,
I
look,
I've had
whatever.
that with both Joe and GI Joe and Iron Man, both. Which is weird to me because it's like, "You're not a true fan." It's like,
It's like, dude,
"Eh,
are you a toddler? Like, what are
yeah."
you talking about? I'm not a true fan. I don't have
Yeah, well,
time for stuff like that. And since Action Figure Adventure, I've got a lot of messages like that. Oh, actually, this is the wrong date on the figure that you guys did. It's like, okay, our bad, man. Oh well,
right.
you have a TV show on toys. It's like, relax, man. It's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's like this. We forget that toys are supposed to be fun, and I never, ever, ever have said that I'm the master of any kind of knowledge with any of these IPs. I just like them, man. I know
Right.
what I know, and I make tons of mistakes all the time.
Yeah, I know I did a video and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know I referenced back to something in 1987 and turned out it was 1986 and
You
somebody
got
got me.
actually, you got
I got
actually.
actually, and I'm like
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
okay, but that was still, 40 years ago. I mean, I'm 1 year off. It's not that bad, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's an easy one to make. It's like it's not like you know, I do that in music trivia too. What year did this come out? Oh, it's 81. No, it's 82. Well,
yeah. I don't mind when
yeah.
someone corrects me. It's just when they correct you with a backhand too, and it's like, oh, you're not a fan of GI Joe because you didn't know that Maverick was 87 and not 88. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, and that's what it was. They were very condescending, like, you know,
yeah.
you're not a real fan because you don't know that it was 1987, not 1988. And I'm like, yeah.
Just agree with it. Go, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. I
Not a
forgot.
real fan, and you're still a bully in grade 5 or whatever. Like, it's funny,
You're a
but
bully, but you got 50 pounds on me, man. And it's not muscle.
wow, yeah, it's just the 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 idea of any kind of gatekeeping is I
Mhm.
don't subscribe or hang out with anybody who's in that park. You don't have to if you want to talk to me, Robert, about anything, we could talk. You don't have to like go through a quiz. Do you know what I mean? It's like we can only talk about GI Joe if you've read all the Marvel books and then the IDW and you've seen the movie. It's like, dude, I don't care, man. You like GI Joe? Let's talk GI Joe. Do you know what I mean?
All right. If you're a true fan, tell me,
Yeah.
when what issue and panel did Sergeant Slaughter first appear on? I just say that because Chad made that big joke
Sergeant
about.
Slaughter is the brother of Flint, as we all know. See, we do that all the time just to
That's right.
rile people up for a joke. It's extending into every part of our lives in the fist fight Ford versus Chevrolet. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't understand. Okay, so that's good. I don't understand the brand loyalty. And I was talking
That.
about this on the video
Yeah.
game stream last week, well, whatever game I was playing. I never understood I knew this dude who loved everything Sony. So everything was PlayStation. No matter what happened, if a first party game from Sony came out, and it was trash, like The Lair or something like that. He would all know it's PlayStation, and he hated Xbox. And it would just make me laugh. I'd listen to this grown man talk about these companies like they cared about his opinion. Oh, do you think Sony cares that you buy all their stuff? They don't care, dude. So, if you
Yeah.
worked for Sony, maybe I can understand it a little bit, but you don't.
Yeah, right. It was like when I was yeah, back in those days it was like, okay, you can only afford one. You better make sure it's the one that has the most games you want.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bad. That was the Nintendo Sega war
Yeah.
back in the day, which was quite fun. But I liked what I liked, and I liked a lot of games Sega made, a lot of games Nintendo made. So when I was old enough to work, I saved and I bought both because I never wanted
Right.
to make that choice.
Hey,
Right.
that's cool. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I thought it was funny. It was that Chevy versus Ford thing. And like, oh yeah, that's a
yeah,
good
that's old. That's
extension.
been around for
That's
a
a good
while.
analogy.
The
That is a
brand fights, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's sort of the my uncle took me to a Boston Red Sox game when I was like 10. And I don't hate baseball, but it's not my favorite thing in the world either. But
Sure.
anyway, they would they would start going chanting back and forth. Tastes great, less filling. Tastes great, less filling. The old beer
That's
commercial,
awesome.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
devolved into "eat shit, fuck you."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, "This is fun."
Yeah, sports, man. That's people
Yeah,
are fanatic about their teams. Look at the football playoffs going on. I know
and
I,
this was
I
fan. This was all fans of the Red Sox, so it's like
sure. Yeah,
that
and
made it weird.
if it's like especially around playoff time, try going to
Yeah,
Boston, watching a Red Sox game and put on a Tigers jersey or whatever. You do
yeah,
not. You're not
no,
safe, dude. Like it's
no, you're
no
not.
joke. Yeah.
Anyway, anything coming up on your channel soon?
Always working, man.
Always
Always
working.
working. I'm do one or two produced videos a week, and I stream Wednesday through Sunday at 10 a.m. every day, Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday. Yep.
Yeah. And then Chad and I have our show Friday night at 7 Eastern.
I love that show, by the way, the Versus show.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I absolutely love it. I'm so glad Chad mentioned it in a stream, and I'm like, "Oh, I've never watched this," and then that's when I discovered your channel, of course, and I was like, "Wow, this
Yeah.
is so cool," because it's like that's sort of the nostalgia berries I'm good with. It's like we can talk about, "Oh, remember when this came out, or remember when that came out," or you can even talk about it from, like, last month or last year,
Well,
and it's
it's
it's still fun.
what's great about toys, and in particular GI Joe, and I'll agree with you. GI Joe is the best toy line. I totally agree. It's my favorite as well.
Yeah.
What's so great about GI Joe, and you've heard me say this, Robert, on my show, is that 500 plus characters. We all have our favorites outside of Cobra Commander,
Mhm.
Snake Eyes, and Duke. Outside of the main guys, we all have, I like Falcon and you like Alley Viper, whatever it is. That's what
Yeah.
makes GI Joe so great. So the tier list works because it's so fun to examine each figure. And you'll see someone in the chat say, Alley Viper is so terrible. And then someone else is like, dude, this was like my childhood favorite figure. It's so great because everyone loves the different figures for different reasons. It's awesome. I love doing the verses. It's so fun.
Oh, yeah. I kinda cracked up last week was, the last one you did. When I popped in, the first one you had up was, Python, Cobra Officer.
Oh yeah, for 25th. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I always kinda liked that one, here's why. I had the weirdest thing. Somebody broke into my house and stole my Cobra Troopers. That's all they stole, my Cobra Troopers.
Weird.
Yeah, it was weird. It's my Cobra Vipers and my Cobra Troopers. So, at the time, I went to the store, and the only thing they had was Python Patrol. And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna buy the officers with black and yellow." I was like, "Those aren't so bad." They're not, yellow and gray like the others, you know, that stick out
It's
like
not like the Crimson Guard Python Patrol
yeah.
that has no crimson on him.
But for the
Like that.
for a long while, that was like, my sub for Cobra Troopers through the '90s was like until we were able to get other Cobra Troopers and eBay popped up and all that,
Right.
because you had to go to the store and deal with what you had. So I was kinda like the black with the yellow, harness and the gray helmet
You see,
just
you have
because
a connection to that figure, even though it was a terrible thing that happened. Because of that, you have a connection to that figure.
right.
And what's great about Versus is that no matter what anyone says, we all respect each other and no one can ever take that away from you, right?
Yeah.
You love that figure because this happened in your life and this physical representation reminds you of that.
Yep. Exactly what it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really cool one which I meant to bring up today, and I'm glad I remembered it because I was like, "Oh, I was watching that on your channel." I was like, "Oh, that was a cool moment." Just a cool moment to reminisce.
Kelly, that's great.
Well, actually,
He was the Cobra urban warfare
yeah,
soldier. He had a riot shield and yeah. I don't know why he was orange and blue, but he was.
me either, but I love that color. I love
Yeah, it
that
works.
color on
Yeah,
him.
yeah. You think it'd
I
be more like Shockwave, like darker colors, but
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah. The
worked.
first time I saw him, I was like, going, "That's weird," but you know what? I actually love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
gonna own. All
yeah,
right. Okay, so I got to get up early in the morning.
yeah.
All right. Jay,
I,
thank you so much for stopping by.
oh,
I've had
thanks
a
for
real
having
good
me.
time just hanging out and talking with you.
Yeah,
Um,
for everyone in the chat, my channel is Jay Bartlett. If you want to hop on over, check it out. Robert's hanging out with us every Friday night, and we'll have to get you on a versus one day, Robert, when you're ready
oh,
to go.
please, God, I'd love to.
But yeah, I want to thank your wonderful community for hanging out with us tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Be sure to check out Jay, and we'll catch you next time. Replay Squad. We'll see you later too. But for now, have a good night, folks.
Cheers.